Hi, and welcome to the Changing Perspectives podcast, the show where we discuss a variety of topics, including grief, parenting, pop culture, and relationships. Join us and explore a number of changing perspectives. We're your hosts, Jenni and Josh Brennan. Hi, Jenni.
Hi.
What's happening?
Not much.
You're in your phone.
I'm multitasking, as always.
That's okay.
But I'm doing stuff about the show.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 62. 62 episodes of the Changing Perspectives podcast. We just actually celebrated a year in production, Jenni.
You didn't get me an anniversary gift. You said you were going to.
Remember we talked about how I got you show content?
No, I don't remember that.
Happy anniversary.
But I've been buying myself stuff.
Oh, that's good.
I bought like new wall stuff for our
Did
office
we post
here.
a picture yet?
And I don't think so.
Well, by the time this drops.
And today, new throw blankets for in here should be coming.
Oh, nice.
Which is great for me because I'm an old lady and always cold.
I'm really liking the new studio. Which
so is Norma Jean.
Yeah, so is Norma Jean, which doubles as an office, which is really cool. By the time this episode drops, which will be April 7th, Tuesday, April 7th, we will definitely post pictures of our new signs, which are awesome.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
We have a Changing Perspective sign, a blog sign, you got like
this is
your
all boring.
logo, and Disney Bird Studios.
Boring.
It's not boring. It's exciting.
Okay.
And I love what you did with our bulletin board, all kinds of great inspirational quotes.
Well, if you go back to our episode, hold on, I just put this all in my note, episode 60, released on the 23rd of March, working from home. It's really important that your surroundings when you're working from home are conducive to the work you're doing. So it was really important for me to make use of this bulletin board. Did we put this up when we moved in?
Yes.
That was stupid of us because it's now like
that.
a permanent fixture of this room. But I put a bunch of inspirational quotes up there. So
I love it.
It's in my eye line whenever I'm seeing patients now.
Maybe we should share one on each episode. You want to share one?
You pick one.
Okay. How about the bottom right there?
Do you know how to read?
I was going to let you read it.
Oh, thanks. It's never too late to be what you might have been.
I love it.
I didn't know I was sharing these quotes, so I don't have authors.
I don't know.
But that's by someone.
I just came up with it right then.
Okay, cool.
Speaking of inspiration, we have such a special, amazing show coming at you right now. We had our first guest in a while. Not in studio, because we can't do that right now, but maybe the future.
Social distancing.
But long overdue was an interview with our good friend, dear friend, Mr. Michael Caron, who is the founder of GetBurly.com. You guys have heard Get Burly ads run on Changing Perspectives for a little while now. But Mikey is a friend of ours from just about 20 years ago. Almost, just shy of 20 years ago. We studied abroad with him in our study abroad program, Semester at Sea, which we've talked about in the show before. We talk a little bit about that with Mike during this interview. Really became really close friends with Mike. And we were so pumped to have him on the show.
Yes, for sure.
So he has such great info and content to share with everybody about health and wellness. And how to maintain that during the quarantine as well. Just a lot about his philosophies in general, which we were so pumped to talk to him about. We could have talked to him for hours and hours and hours, but we tried to keep it to just about an hour. So do you have anything to say before we play the interview?
I think that it's very evident. You can hear that he is living his life. He's got a little kid, a young son, a daughter who I think is our youngest age, and then his wife.
Yep.
And so we just allowed it sort of to unfold naturally, so you can hear sort of background noise. And that's just a snapshot into how busy his life is.
Yes.
And you'll be able to see, despite how busy his life is and how full his life is, how much he's still able to commit to taking care of himself and being the best version of himself.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all I have for
Good job tying that in.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. From GetBurly.com, here's Mr. Michael Caron. Enjoy this interview. Mikey,
Yes, sir.
welcome, buddy. Welcome to Changing Perspectives. I've been like, you and I have been talking about getting you on this show for pretty much since it started last year, I think. So, welcome.
Yeah, well, we had to wait for this crazy epidemic to happen, for this to happen. But,
I
all
know.
we're doing is bringing light to the darkness, brother. We needed to wait until a time like this to just to raise the bar for people and give them a little sunshine
Excellent.
in this difficult time. So that's the way I'm looking at this.
Jenny, are you so excited Mike is on the show?
I'm so excited. It's so surreal because it's been almost 20 years since we met each other, right? It'll be
Yes.
20 years this fall.
Isn't
It
that
will.
crazy to think
That's
about?
crazy. Yeah.
So we'll do, Mikey. We'll record like a little intro before the interview starts. So we'll probably give a little background. But Mikey Caron is one of our oldest, dearest friends, coming up on 20 years. We don't get a chance to hang out in person all that much, but you and I have a pending beer date for sure. That's on the books. Well,
Yes.
not on the books. It needs to be on the books.
Yes, sir.
But it's been a long time. It's so great to have you, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. We the three of us share something that I don't think too many people share, and that's not just the history of our friendship, and I think life happens and people lose touch with each other. I think so. One thing, kudos to us, is that we haven't lost touch. So that's 20 years of friendship. I think is one thing that's unique in and of itself. But then the fact that we have quite literally circumnavigated the globe together is a whole nother. That could probably be an episode in and of itself.
It probably
It could be like
yeah.
a whole podcast, I think.
Yeah, and so I think there's this sense that despite the fact that we haven't seen each other in person, when you go through something like that with people, it just I think the connection and the bond remains so strong, and it's you pick up right where you left off, and that's how I feel. I feel so comfortable. I got up this morning and I was just so amped. I had so much crazy energy for this call, and whenever I take part in these things, I always try to bring
You had crazy energy.
I
That's not like you at all.
I was gonna say, isn't that how you wake up every day, amped?
Well,
with
yeah,
energy?
but I would say even more so. I mean, Ashley,
Okay.
my wife was like, what did you take this morning?" I mean, I just been bouncing off the wall. I took, everybody's trying to get creative right now with staying in shape and staying healthy. So I'm like, all my fitness equipment is at my gym. I don't really have anything here. I left it there before we closed it down, and I don't have access to my gym now. And so I just been getting creative here. So I had the water jugs this morning, like the big jugs that are delivered. And I was doing all kinds of. I'll post a video later, but I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And she's like, "What are you doing up there?" And I'm like, "I gotta get fired up for the show today." And I just I listened to a couple episodes early this morning. I mean, I've been getting up every day. I'm on a 5:30 call, 5:30 a.m. call every day since we went on lockdown. I've been on this call. It's with doctors from all over the world, and it's a great call for me to kind of wrap my head around what's going on and think about how I can be of the best service I possibly can to everybody. I think this is a time where we want to like think globally, act locally, and it really helps me get my head straight. So I did that, and then it was just like I was just bouncing off the wall, listening to your podcast, jumping around, just all excited. I felt like it was like that first day of semester at sea. I was just like.
Yes.
Yeah, and it just brought me back.
Fired up.
And yeah, I was just thinking about sitting in the dorm room, so idealistic, solving all of the world's problems together.
I
back
know.
in the fall of 2000, and
There was a different time in the world. No cell phones, really. I only accessed my email when we got to a country that had like an internet cafe, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I remember in the old dial-up.
Yes.
What
Was Mikey with us in that little car, the little like rickshaw in India where we were going to an internet cafe? Was that me or
Yes.
Mikey?
I think you were
Or a
there,
cab?
Mikey.
I don't remember.
I remember one.
Sounds about right. The first one I went to was in Vietnam.
Maybe it was Vietnam.
I
don't
remember.
Anyways.
So I don't know if we'll just give background now. So we talked about semester at sea a little bit in previous episodes, but Changing Perspectives fans, you're getting a rare glimpse into someone that traveled the world with on that amazing program, Semester at Sea. Actually, so it's a study abroad program for those that don't know. Go ahead and Google it. We'll actually drop a link, I guess, in the show notes. the Institute for Shipboard Education. But basically, it's a study abroad program for a semester, and you go to school on a converted cruise ship. That's like a floating campus, and you tour the world, travel the world, and you learn and you immerse yourself in the cultures. Um, and this current semester, because of the COVID outbreak, unfortunately, all those kids, their semester ended so abruptly, and so it's so sad to see that. Jenny, you sort of monitor that whole decision, right?
Oh yeah, because now they're connected, so they're able to like be on Instagram and Twitter and post sort of live from the ship to their blog. So they had to cut their voyage short. They all got to South Africa. They had to skip like 6 countries, and then I think when they got to South Africa, they had a few days notice and were told they couldn't get back on the ship, and they had to figure out a way to get home, because the fear was that no one would let the ship port if they continued
Right.
on. So yeah, really sad. But I'm glad that we get to have had a full experience of semester at sea. And I'm sure that those people, those kids, those adult passengers that had to cut their voyage short, I'm sure that their relationships are even more cemented because of that experience now.
Absolutely. No, and that's what it is. I mean, you experience the world together, as Mikey said a few moments ago, and that is something that you just can't replicate. And it's an experience that's hard to describe, right? It really kind of is. So
Well, it's interesting. I don't get to talk about it all that much, and it's like it just I'm getting so excited right now just thinking back, because I just because I remember it was so hard for me to do that, to make that happen, and it was like a huge goal of mine.
oh yeah,
And you think of your life in chapters, and you think, like, I think back and I think of the big things that I was committed to and wanted to accomplish, by the time I ended high school. And there were some big, like, I had some huge major goals, and I worked really hard, and I hit those. And then when I got to college, it was like, just trying to figure everything out, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want? What direction do I want to go in? And, for me, I always knew that I wanted to be able to, like, stand and deliver. I always knew that I wanted to be able to deliver something of, like, tremendous value to people. But I was like, I don't, you know, not that I was discounting my experience, but I was like, I have to have some worldly, I have to do some things, I've got to have some worldly experience and be able to bring some perspective to the table to people, whether that meant teaching or starting Get Burly, which, who knew at that point in time that would be the direction later on down the road. But I was like, I got to do something, and I don't come, we come from similar backgrounds.
Right.
And I would
right.
say that was the exception as opposed to the rule on Semester at Sea. There was tremendous wealth on that ship. I mean, I
Yeah.
think a lot of kids, young men and women thought, it was like a booze cruise for them. Whereas for us,
Yes,
it was like we took advantage of every single possibility we can. I mean, I remember going to core every morning, like getting there first thing, coffee, ready to go, just wanting to soak up everything that I possibly could
absolutely.
Yes.
from
Yes,
the cultural and global perspectives classes that we were taking. And it was like, if you think about it, every teacher on that voyage had to have spent time in at least two of the countries on the itinerary, and they had to have had at least a minimum of a PhD in their field. So it's like, okay, so you've lived in at least two of the countries on the itinerary, plus you have your PhD. Like, what, like, the amount of life experience, just that in and of itself. I just wanted to empty my cup and just try to, get as much
yes,
as I could out of it. But I just go back to, like, I mean, it took me like 3 years to figure that out, how I was going to make it work, how it was all going to happen. And it was just like a huge goal of mine to be able to have some international experience to broaden my horizons, so that I felt like when I coming out of that, I would have something more valuable to deliver to people. And I just remember applications after applications, and it was almost, I mean, the amount of grant money that I got for that, like, I almost didn't pay for that. Like, what I ended up paying for that was so minimal, because because I spent 3 years of
Doing the
just
work, right?
focusing on how I could,
me too.
figure that out.
No, I'm with
And
you. Like
it
for
was,
me, I went to I was at UMass Boston at the time, and I don't know. I was very fortunate to be dealing with people in the financial aid office that were so supportive of my goal, and I definitely would not have been able to do it at all had it not been for those amazing people in that office at this commuting school in the center of Boston back in the year 2000. It wouldn't have happened.
Well,
It's amazing to think about it.
and you think about like the way that you're paying it forward, and where we're at now, and our ability to try, to do that for other people, and it might not be that they're applying this semester at sea, but whatever their life goals are, and I think that when things come full circle like that, and we think back, and we think about the people that have lent a hand out. I love to think of things. There is this concept that was recently brought up to me at a seminar I attended with Frank Shamrock. Frank Shamrock, the UFC fighter. I had an opportunity to spend some time with him and to meet him in person. And he told me about this ethos that he's sort of followed throughout his life. And, he called this the warrior ethos. And he talked about the circle of life. And he talked about how, he likes to think of things in a circle. And he likes to think of sort of categories of where we're at in relationship to other people. And so there's people that want to be where you're at. They're striving, they're trying, they're doing everything that they can to try to sort of get to a place where you are currently at. And so our job in that situation, that circumstance, is to reach our hand out and to pull and do everything we can to pull those people up. And then there's the people that are sort of on the same plane as us, and they're on the same level with us. And instead of necessarily looking at them as competition, to look at them and say, how can we serve one another? How can we create a mutually beneficial and synergistic relationship where we can connect with one another and work to create something out of our blended experiences that's meaningful for as many people as possible? And then there's the people that we're sort of reaching up for, right? And so they're people that have traveled the path that we want to go on. And so we're reaching out to them in as many ways as we can, and trying to say to them, how can I add value to what you have going on in your life right now? So it's like plus minus equal, And so I think about when you are talking about these people that are on, we're in that financial aid office, and at that stage of their life, they were like an equal and you were a minus, and they were pulling your hand up. Yeah. And, I think it comes full circle, and I like to think of things like that, plus minus equal, and think about, every person I come into contact with, whether it's for a very, very brief time period, or perhaps it could be a long time period, how can I become a better person for having known them? And how can they become a better person for having known me, even if it's a very, brief and short time period?
Right. That's a really great way of looking at things. I've always admired you for the way you look at the world, Mikey Caron.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
I think now would be a good time for Mikey to tell everybody about Get Burly. I know we've run some ads about Get Burly, but I think it's always great to hear it from the founder.
Yes.
So,
well, can I just say before he dives in, the term burly since the year 2000, I have always just considered that to be synonymous with you, Mikey.
Yes.
And I love that that's the name of your organization. It's perfect. So tell us about it.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, it's interesting, to talk about it while we're on a podcast called Changing Perspectives. And so, before I begin, I just want to first and foremost say thank you. And it's such an honor to be here with you guys. And I'm so glad you guys started this venture, because, you both have this real sense of interpersonal connection and the ability to help people change perspectives in a positive light. And I think it would be a shame if you didn't do something like this. So I'm really glad that you did. And the other thing that I want to say is, our most valuable asset is time. And so the fact that you've taken this time to spend with me, especially during this difficult time, I really appreciate it, because at the end of the day, it's all we have is time. And so how you choose to spend that time is, I think, what matters most. So glad that you spend it with me and give me the opportunity to talk a little bit. So, as far as Get Burly itself, I think it meshes well with Changing Perspectives, because in some ways that's what we want to do. But the term burly itself refers to being strong, sturdy, and well-built. If you just look up textbook definition, that's what it's about. And really what we're working to do is to develop strength in the inside out. we really want to get to people on a level of emotional resilience, mental toughness, and whatever you want to call it, spiritual growth. It doesn't necessarily have to be within a religious context, but to develop mind and spirit, and then body. A lot of times people think of Burly, it's like the term Burly itself, and they immediately go to the physical connotation, but real strength comes from the inside out. And so that's our goal. That is our mission statement, is to empower people to make and sustain the commitment to being the best version of themselves. And we talk about being the best version of yourself mentally, spiritually, physically, socially, and emotionally, which truly is a lifelong pursuit. But it's one of those things, like, once your eyes been opened, and you've seen it, and you've seen the possibility for growth, you can't really ever go back. And so what we want to do is support people along that journey. And so what that means and what that looks like for us is we conduct our Get Burly Team Building and Leadership Development Division conducts workshops, seminars, and retreats for athletic teams, corporate groups, and educational institutions. And so that's a portion of what we do. We also have a motivational speaker series, and then of course our training. So we do physical training, online physical training, and then we also do coaching as far as life coaching. So there's a lot of different sort of legs and arms and legs of Get Burly, but to go back to the mission, it's to motivate, encourage, and inspire people to make and sustain the commitment to being the best version of themselves. And the reason why we use the term Burly is because of exactly what it means. That whole essence of being strong, sturdy, and well-built, and having your feet firmly planted in the ground, and knowing who you are and what you stand for as far as your purpose, your passion, and your principles. So we try to help people clarify what those are, so that they can take a stand in this world with a sense of being grounded within their purpose and their why.
That is amazing.
I love that. And I love what you're about. And what I've been trying to, ever since you launched this, I've been sort of tracking it and paying attention to all the things you're doing. I particularly love how involved you get in high school sports programs. Can you talk a little bit about that, Mikey?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I just put out basically 10 ways to best start your day for the high school athlete. So kind of dealing with this, what we're dealing with right now. And I sent it out to a bunch of coaches and some people that are working with high school athletes, because not just high school athletes, everybody, especially that age right now, is a little bit lost and kind of floundering. And one of the things we talk about is building runway, right? So what's going to happen eventually is we're going to get back to normal. We're going to get back to, I think there's a new normal now, but we're going to get back to business, and it's going to be in a new way, but we're going to get back. So the high school athletes are going to get back to, they're going to get back to training. They're going to get back to playing their games. Right now it's spring season, so baseball, lacrosse, outdoor track, all that stuff's being put on hold. But I'd like to think that summer baseball is going to happen, and then in the fall football is going to happen. And so
yes,
and we have to stay optimistic and positive about that. So we want to build runway, which what I mean by that is, we got, in order to be ready for takeoff, there's got to be a runway. You're not just going to take off if without going down a runway. So building runway, there's certain things that have to be done in ahead of time, right? And so we always talk about the 6 P's: proper preparation prevents poor performance. And so we want to make sure that these young kids are staying active, and they're doing the things that they need to do. So I'll just go through them with you real quick. So these are 10 things, because I always want to try to add some value for your
just
audience.
So you know, what's going to happen is I'm going to play this recording, this section, for our soon-to-be high school athlete who's about to enter his freshman year, because his favorite thing to do is sports, and he wants so much to be successful. And he's starting to think about it a lot. He's working out every other day pretty much. So this is like very apropos.
All right, so I'll just rip through this real quick, okay? And I can send you guys a copy of this, what I sent out. But
Perfect.
so here are some things that are within your control. So we always talk about locus of control. There's so much right now that's outside of our control. But again, life's 10% what happens to you, 90% how you can respond to it, and that's our ability to control those responses that dictate outcomes. So what we've got to focus on right now is controlling the controllable. So a couple of things that we can control. Number one, don't jack up your sleep. Go to bed early, wake up early. Stay on routines. Don't stay up all night playing video games.
Hear that,
Get at least 8 hours of sleep. This does a few things. It keeps your immune system strong and be able to fight this thing off, and it keeps you mentally and physically sharp. Like I would always say when I was a baseball coach, look sharp, be sharp, right? So you still got to wake up. You still got to present yourself in the right way. Like I'm up every single this whole thing. I told you I was on a 5:30 crawl every single morning. I'm not going into work or anything like that, but I'm still getting up. I still have my routines. So we got to stay on those routines. Number two, maintain a positive internal dialogue and be mindful of who you're following, right? So many kids following on social media right now and who you're paying attention to. Remember, keep your circle of influence tight. This includes in-person interaction, but also via social media as well. Keep your influences positive. What you think you become, okay? So now, here's 10 things that we can be doing, right? So it starts with setting an agenda the night before for what you want to accomplish the next day. And here's what that might look like for a high school athlete. In bed at 9 p.m., wake up 6 a.m., drink water, brush your teeth, take a shower, change. 6:30, write in your journal for 10 minutes reflecting on your annual and 5-year goals and plans. What do you want your future to look like? Do this every day. Dreams don't magically happen. We have to put them down and then do the work to make them happen. 6:45, begin your workout routine. There's so much you can do with just your body weight. I've been sending people workouts every day. You can follow Get Burly for that. 8 a.m., check in on your Google classes and school emails and map out how you're going to attack your schoolwork for the day. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Okay, 9 a.m., healthy breakfast. Also, supplementation is important during this time. I've been on a 5:30 call with doctors from all around the world, and here are what they're saying. Here's what they're saying as far as building up a strong immunity system during this time. Vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, echinacea, oregano. 10 a.m., more schoolwork. 11 a.m., skill work. This could be whatever your sport is. If you're baseball, mold your glove, oil it up, get it how you want it. 100 slow concentrated swings. If you're a football player, it could be ladder work, speed work, foot drills, ball skill drills, catching with one hand, catching with two hands, tennis ball drills, football drills. 12 o'clock, healthy lunch. Drink your water. A good goal to set would be 64 ounces per day. 1 o'clock, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 50 burpees. This will snap you back in to finish your day strong so that you don't have that afternoon lull. That's 10 steps right there to start your day. The rest of the afternoon should be about finishing up your schoolwork and studying film. This is a great time to study film, whether you're watching yourself play, whether you're watching people you look up to play, study the game. Build your runway and get ready for takeoff. So those are just 10 simple things, and that only takes somebody, from when they wake up till 1 o'clock. But if you were to do something like that every day from 6 a.m. to 1 o'clock, I guarantee you the rest of your day is going to be freaking awesome. Like one of the things we always talk about is win the day, right? So what we're doing with young athletes was your original question. We're trying to do this with everybody is help them set up their day for success, win the day, right? Because there's a gap, right? There's a gap in everybody. There's the gap between where I am now and where I want to be. We call this the performance gap. And what do we need to do to close that gap? We've got to build in the habits, routines, and rituals that allow you to close that gap in incremental small steps. It doesn't happen overnight. But if you think about it, right? Think about it in this month, 30 days on lockdown. And you're doing something, you're taking these steps every single day for 30 days. Think of where you'd be in 30 days if you just did those things I just mentioned 30 days later. So, our big message for the young athletes we work with is, there's these dreams and there's these aspirations and there's these wishes that athletes have. But what I don't see consistently, and this is why not everybody makes it, I don't see consistently the willingness to put in the work that's required to get there. So we try to focus 100% on what are the things that you should be doing and how do we maximize time? How do we maximize the time so that we can be doing the right things academically, the right things in the community, and then, of course, the right things with regards to strength and conditioning and our specific skill work. One of the things we always say to young people is it doesn't matter who it is. It could be Josh and Jenny. It could be the football coach at you guys are at Whitman Hanson, right?
Yep.
It could be somebody in the community. It could be your math teacher, your English teacher, your history teacher, your science teacher. They should all be saying the same things about you because your reputation should be the same. You shouldn't be acting because the coach is watching right now, I'm going to work really hard and I'm going to bust my butt. No, it can't be that way. There's no magical switch you can turn on come Friday nights. You talk about football now. If you haven't done the right thing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's no magical switch you can suddenly turn on come Friday. It doesn't work that way. And anybody that thinks it does is under some illusion. So what we really do is work to build in the habits, routines, and rituals that have time and time again proven to lead to success.
So
sorry, that was a lot.
So this is what's going to happen. So you are going to move in, and you're going to run Jackson and Jacob's life for the next 2 years. That's what's going to happen.
As you can tell, I get a little sorry. I know that was a lot.
Awesome.
I get fired up when I talk about this stuff.
We know that
because I just want to see, I want to see people get where they're trying to go, and most people are under this illusion that they're in the driver's seat of their own life, but they're really not, because they're not controlling the controllable aspects of their life, and they're letting outside things influence them and control them in ways that are detrimental to what they're actually trying to accomplish.
Well, and I think what's going on right now with the pandemic is a good reminder of that, right? Like, it's a great reminder of the things that we actually can't control. And it's a great reminder that this is our opportunity to figure out what are the things we can control and how can we utilize this time to sort of get ourselves to a place that we want to be.
Well, and that line is I think for a lot of people become blurred right now, because there's so much uncertainty and there's so many unknowns. But we can boil down to some really, really basic things about our health, our wellness, our sleep. I think it's a time to really focus on, you got to fill your cup in order to be able to do some great things in this world. There's a lot of great things happening right now. I'm taking part in an initiative with a company called Nutra Meal Plans to feed, the Boston healthcare workers. They've got something awesome going on right now. Just reaching out to neighbors,
that's awesome.
Touching base with, supply chain companies and figuring out how do we get masks out? How do we get, how do we get the supplies that we need out to the people that we can as fast as we can to help with this thing? But before that, it's like, you got to fill your cup. You got to fill the cup of your family. And those are things that I think if we really zero in, we can all control those things, but it takes intentional practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of people that's difficult, but everything's habitual, right? So like for me, I can't not work out. Like, it's become ingrained, like that habit of waking up every day at, the latest I ever wake up is 5 and just attacking a workout. Like it's habitual, controlling my breathing and having a meditation practice is habitual. Spending authentic quality time with my family is habitual because it's something that I've practiced. And, so I think it's just a matter of, to go back to your original sort of comment, Jenny, about controlling the controllables. It's we got to zero in right now on really what is within our control. And I think it has to start with filling your cup so that you can then pour into others.
One of my favorite quotes is from Eleanor Brown: "You cannot serve from an empty vessel." And I think it's so true. And our sort of self-care, taking care, filling our own cup, I think so many of us assume will happen naturally. And really, it doesn't. We really have to be mindful about it. We have to be deliberate about it. And we have to plan for it. And for me, meeting with my clients, my patients all week, that is a theme that I'm seeing really come to the surface throughout this whole pandemic, is that people are not really taking care of themselves. They're not giving themselves permission to do that. And then they're wondering why they're not able to do really anything. So I love the 10 steps that you outlined for high school athletes. And I really think that applies to everybody, starting your day with a very clear start time and very clear intentions and plan for the day is something we all could benefit from. And it's going to allow us that space to take care of ourselves and our family.
I know that I was feverishly writing notes while you were talking, Mike, and I like I was, and I'm not even joking. I'm not even trying to make a funny joke, but like seriously, what you think you become, like that is amazing, not only for high school students, high school athletes, but for everybody. I mean, I just, you know what? You guys can talk. I'm going to mute my mic. I'm going to do 10 burpees right now. I just feel I'm all fired up. I'm going to do it.
There's no reason not to, and,
I
and it
love
is.
it.
I mean, we are the sum of our thoughts, and it's. I think it's so important to really be intentional about, who's within our sphere of influence. Who are we listening to? Like I'm not going to let someone into my space or like a show, a podcast, into my mental space unless I know that it's going to help me to serve others in a way that is connected to my why. And I think that everybody sort of has to think about that in terms of what that means for them, you know. And to go back to a high school athlete, like who are you spending time with, right? So decision making becomes easy once you have a clear and grounded why. It's and for young people, I think for everybody, but especially young people, there's peer pressure, there's the social stigma of trying to fit in, right? So there's so many decisions that young people are making from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. And a lot of times they're pushed and pulled in different directions and they don't know how to make a decision. And once you can gain some clarity, and that's why I mentioned the journaling practice about consistently journaling about who it is that you are, what it is that you want, what do I want now, what do I want a year from now, setting some concrete, clear, and realistic goals and reflecting on them consistently. And so decision making then becomes very easy because does the decision that I'm about to make take me one step closer to or one step further away from my why? And that's if somebody asks themselves that question, it's easy. Now the right thing to do and the hard thing to do are often the same thing. So we've got to develop the tools to make those decisions, that's where the mental toughness and the emotional resiliency comes in. But having grounded clarity about where you want to go really helps decision making become a lot easier.
No, absolutely. And that message is so important as we not only in normal life, but in this new life. And a lot of my questions for you today, Micah, were about how do you maintain this, this way of life during this craziness where we're sheltering in place, we're quarantining, you can't go outside the house without a mask I mean, this is nothing that anyone could have predicted what we're going through right now. And it's so inspiring and motivating to hear you sort of living, your mantra in spite of this, right? And that's important. And it's hard to maintain anything, any normalcy during something that's so abnormal.
No, I agree. And I just think for your just for your audience, I look, it's hard for everybody. It's been hard on us. It's hard for everybody, but we've got to go back to those controllables. And like, so just that 5:30 call, it helps me stay grounded. And so that it's something that I'm able to get on every day. Like I said, there's it's with doctors from all over the world. It's with some pretty high level business executives that are sort of talking about the market. And basically we go around the world and they call on somebody from all these different countries, and they kind of touch base on the status and where we're at. And what the doctors are saying though, as far as building your immune system up consistently, they're all saying that the following: vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc is huge, echinacea, and oregano. So I've just made sure to make sure that I have that every single day, that I'm getting my supplementation in to consistently build up the immune system. Exercise is so important in terms of building up your immune system. And there's so many things that you can do even while just at home with body weight, and you can modify things in so many different ways. So making sure that we're staying on routines, making sure that we're getting our supplementation, making sure that we're exercising, and making sure that we're we control our internal dialogue, right? So
Oh, I
that's
talk
one of
about
those
that a
things that I
lot with
think
my
is off.
clients.
Well, it's clearly within our control, right? But a lot of times people don't focus on it. And it's funny because my internal dialogue and my external dialogue almost sort of, they flow with each other. So I have, the morning ritual, like I talked earlier about winning the day, like that's something that I've focused on over the last like 10 years. Like I've really dialed it in. Like I've got I've got my morning ritual down to like a science now, because I just want to be, I want to be going into my day and any interaction I have with anybody just with so much energy and positivity. And so I think we really got to focus on that. And it's funny because when I do my sort of mantras, and when I'm working to control my internal dialogue, my external dialogue comes out. So I'll be like in the shower super early, and you know, sometimes like Stadler will wake up, and Ashley will come in and she'll be like, who are you talking to? Because I'll be literally talking out loud. Like I'll be, just pumping myself up for the day, and talking about, just certain mantras I have, about being the change that I want to see in the world, and about, just winning and being positive and having positive energy, and making big impact. And I literally like I'll literally like chant things in the shower, and it's kind of crazy. And Ashley's like, "What the hell are you doing in there?" But it's like it's
That's
just one of
awesome.
those things where you got to build yourself up for the day. Like if you're not doing it for yourself, you can't expect somebody else to. Like you got to build yourself up to be who you want to be, and the way you want to show up in the world is constructed by you. Like we all have the power to construct that, but you got to tap into it, and there are tools to tap into it. So, mental visualization, journaling, meditation, positive internal and external dialogue, developing a mantra for yourself about, that could be anything, like I literally tell myself I'm a lion. Like I say that every day in the shower. I say, I'm a lion. I am powerful beyond measure, and I will impact the change I wish to see, I wish to see in myself and in this world. Like I say that over and over again. And people could think that's cheesy. People could think that's weird. I don't care. It helps me show up with authenticity and high levels of energy. And, sometimes my mantra changes, but that's one that's been pretty consistent for me over the years. And, there are others, but, everybody has to develop that for themselves. And I think it's important, Jenny. I'm glad you're talking about that with people because, in this time where there's so many things that we can't control, that's one that we certainly can.
And I think the first step, this has been your approach for, I think, the vast majority of your life, having this sort of positive mindset, getting in your head, building yourself up. There's a lot of people that are not quite there yet. And I think the first step for a lot of people is first turning up the volume on their internal dialogue and figuring out what it is they're saying to themselves throughout the day. Because most people just aren't even aware of how negative their own self talk is in their own head. And so it's
Mm,
scary when I tell people to sort of dig into that, lean into that, and turn it up for a while and write down what they're saying to themselves throughout the day. Because a lot of
right.
people out there are really beating themselves up. So first you've got to sort of unlearn and stop saying all the negative stuff, those sort of lies that you're saying to yourself, and at the same time start to build yourself up. So I think these two things really go hand in hand. And now at a time like this where everything is different, it's a great time to really learn about yourself. And if you're not someone who has those habits, those processes already in place, and it's not just about keeping a habit, it's about starting something new. This is a great
Hmm.
time to do that because there's so many places out there that are sending really similar messages, right? Like if you follow the Get Burly brand on any of your social media platforms, you're active, you're sending tips and strategies and articles and resources and videos all the time. And there's a lot of places out there right now doing that same thing. If people could benefit from focusing on themselves right now.
Yeah, and it's not selfish. That's the other piece. Like
No.
it's not it's and even if you want to think of it as selfish, that's fine. Go ahead, call it selfish. But by doing that, it allows you to serve from that full cup that we
Yep.
talked about
Yeah.
earlier. So I think you said it perfectly. You have to be in the space where you become conscious, and that's where the conscious of the way that you're speaking to yourself, and in your thought patterns.
Right.
And that's where the meditation practices come in. And there's so many tools out there, the Headspace app, there's different things, but journaling
Hmm.
is so important. And I think, like you said, now's a great time to sort of start paying attention to that stuff. And I've totally tried to take the whole woo woo out of that. And I think I've had the opportunity to train with the Navy SEALs. I've been able to get, a few different Navy SEAL sort of fitness / leadership certifications. And I'm involved in a program right now as we speak to become what's called an Unbeatable Mind certified coach through the, Mark Divine in this Navy SEAL inspired program. And one of the things that I've been able to learn, which is just so cool, it's the whole concept of the duality of man. You're training with these SEALs, like the most badass people on the planet, and then you're sitting there and you're meditating with them, and you're involved, and you're doing yoga with them, and you're journaling, and it's like I've tried to instill this, especially in like you think about the typical, let's just take for example the typical male high school football player, right? Like I want to demystify all of these sort of preconceived notions about yoga and journaling and writing and spending time in deep thought. And I'm like, okay, so who do you look up to? Like who is your, who's your favorite athlete of all time? Michael Jordan. Oh, okay. Well, do you know that Michael Jordan consistently practiced Zen meditation with his coach Phil Jackson when he was at the highlight of his career? Are you aware of that? Like, are you aware that he had a consistent breath practice? So I think, we try to, I think it's important to sort of, demystify some of these practices that, you look through the history of humanity and you think of, most times when you think of, when if you can connect who people look up to, you probably can find that they were involved in one of these practices. And so it sort of helps in demystifying it. And I just want people to win. I want people to be in the driver's seat of their own life, and I want them to win whatever that means for them, and to get out of their own way to do it.
Hey everybody, Jenni and I want to tell you guys about Lash Binder.
Yes, Lash Binder was created by celebrity makeup artist and host of the Clean Beauty podcast, Cassandra McClure.
Lash Binder is a lash application tool and method that has changed the lash game forever. Lash Binder makes lash application easier, faster, and even safer than ever before.
And with each Lash Binder sold, Lash Binder will donate one to a cancer patient who has lost her lashes due to chemotherapy. How amazing is that?
That's super amazing.
Lash Binder is available on Amazon and at select boutiques nationwide.
And you can also visit lashbinder.com. And just for our awesome listeners, you can enter the discount code Changing Perspectives at checkout for $5 off your entire order.
That's also super amazing.
Yes, it is. Visit lashbinder.com, everybody. Lashbinder is number one because anyone can achieve perfect lashes in seconds every time. And that is something that it's easy to forget, right? Especially with what's going on now, but just in normal life, it's easy to forget that it might not take it'll take more than you think it's going to take, right? And it's a true investment in yourself, and that's huge. Mikey, can you talk to us about eating and staying on a good eating plan during a time like this in a quarantine? It's easy to put your meal plan in the hands of Uber Eats and DoorDash, right? So, like, how do you talked about boosting your immune system and your supplements, and tell us some of the things that people can do to stay on a good eating plan while they're sheltering.
Well, it's like simplify, right? So now I think now is really a time to simplify your life, right? So what can I be doing at home, right? So the simple ingredients, like the basic simple things, so and there's so I'm not a registered dietitian, I'm not a doctor, so but I just think when you look at this, when you look at kind of where diet has gone, and paleo and vegan and the ketogenic diet and all these different things, like I'm just like, keep it simple, basic, simple ingredients. The biggest thing is water. If I could start anybody somewhere, I would just say, just make sure at the very minimum that you're starting your day, because we're most dehydrated in the morning, with a glass of water. Just start there. I go into different places. I have lemon water, and I put a little Himalayan sea salt in there. But if you just start with water, and I try to drink it very slowly, and before I'm done with that glass of water, I have to have stated 3 things that I am grateful for. And I try to say something new every day. So I know this is diet, right? This is diet in terms of putting in your body, but it's
Yes.
also the diet for your mind. So that's just something that any one of us can do. And it's like, now's a really important time to to start your day with gratitude. Is it hard because there's so much right now sort of working against us? Yes, but it puts us in a mind frame of hope. And I think that's where we need to be right now. So get your water in, right? And then before that, I drink it very slowly, very intentionally. I try to taste and feel the water, kind of going down. And I try to think of 3 things that I'm grateful for, right? And so, and then I like to work out on, an empty stomach. But, starting your day with water, getting, just trying to make sure that we're conscious of what we're putting into our bodies in order to be as strong and as healthy as we possibly can. It's easy to kind of fall off the bandwagon right now. And everybody's in a different scenario. Are you able to able to go to a grocery store? Are you able to have, groceries delivered to your house? There's so many different factors right now. So I just think it's important to, start your day with water, keep things simple. I try to avoid processed foods. If you can get your vegetables in, that's so important, whether that's through supplementation or actually, cooking the vegetables and finding ways to get the vegetables. And then, you know, there's so much out there between, carb intake and fat intake and all these different things. I don't want to get into all that, but, just eat whole foods, avoid processed foods, try to get in as many vegetables as you possibly can. Don't overeat. If you're going to be snacking throughout the day, just try to make sure they're healthy snacks. Like one of the most basic, simple ways that I try to, because most kids like most people in general, but especially kids, it's like the salty snacks. They want the chips and the Cheetos and all those different things. So just a easy way to replace that is just, nuts, any kind of nuts. I don't care if they're peanuts, pecans, that's one of the things that I always say when you want that salty snack, just because you can get those healthy fats, instead of picking out on the chips.
Right.
So,
That
eat
makes
whole
sense.
foods, eat more vegetables, get your water in with every meal, stop drinking the soda, stop drinking the junk, get the, make sure you're just, I don't drink anything besides water and coffee. I mean, that's pretty much, that's like, or unless it's like a supplement, beet juice. I drink a lot of beet juice, but, whole foods, a lot of water, and a lot of vegetables. That's it. I mean, it's not complicated. Try to keep it simple.
I'm so bad with my water intake.
Oh,
Jenny's
you
a
are the
superstar.
worst.
I know. But
Well,
most of my water.
Start your day though. That's it's just chug it in the beginning of the day. Start your day with
Yeah.
a huge thing of water before your coffee.
That's a good plan. I should start doing that in the morning because my coffee. I'm literally drinking. I've finished half a French press during this recording. Like I'm a coffee person, big time. I probably drink too much of it. The other thing I put in my water is hops and barley. I put a little too much of that in my water as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Alrighty.
But no, I actually let someone else do it, and I buy it. But no, I need to do so much better with my water, and that's so important. But Jenny's a superstar with her water. You're like a fish, Jenny.
I am. Yep.
Have you ever read the Blue Zones? Have you ever read the Blue Zones diet
No,
or about the Blue Zones?
no, that one I don't know.
So the Blue Zones are the areas in the world with the highest percentage of people that have lived to 100 and longer.
Okay.
And essentially, what it chronicles is the lifestyle habits, not just in terms of what they're eating, but just in general lifestyle habits of the people living in these regions. And essentially, there's a couple different things, sort of what I described before. They're eating off the land. They're eating whole foods. They're eating a ton. A large percentage of their diet is vegetable. They're having consistent connection, which is so important in a time like this, right? Like what we're doing now, finding ways to connect. So that could be, there's a religious component to it or a spiritual component to it. It doesn't have to necessarily be religious, but there's a spiritual component to their life. There's a consistent connection. So that's sitting down and having family dinners together. There's a high vegetable content portion of their diet, and there's this concept of working with their hands, or like living off the land, working with their hands. A lot of like old school hardcore physical strenuous exercise outside. So those are sort of the categories of commonalities all over the world where people are living the longest. So I try to adapt those. But you got me thinking about that when you said the barley and the hops, Josh, because one of the things they talk about in Sardinia, Italy, they say that's where the healthiest wine in the world is, because it has the highest percentage of heart healthy flavonoids. So if you're going to
Oh, wow.
indulge in your Sardinian red wines.
That sounds good. I haven't had a good Sardinian red wine in a long time. That's excellent.
Yeah, so there you go.
So thank you for going through the diet stuff. That's it. So water is the biggest takeaway for sure. I've always wanted to ask you about mindfulness. I know you talked about the Headspace app. We've done a mindfulness episode as well on changing perspectives, but it's something that I've only scratched the surface on personally. I know Jenny has had a little bit more experience with it, but tell us how not only you practice mindfulness, but how does Get Burly sort of motivate and promote that?
Wow. That's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that on a
Oh,
podcast before.
well, there you go.
So, I think as far as mindfulness is concerned, I think, wherever you go, there you are, and I always love this whole idea of be where your feet are, right? So that's difficult, I think, for many people. I think the three of us have a tendency to be a little bit of everywhere all at once. That's part of our maybe part of our personality.
That is true.
And so there's certain things, there's certain practices that you can do. One of my favorite mindfulness practices ever was for many years I worked in construction. I worked as a carpenter, and a lot of the time that I spent doing that, I was involved in cutting. Cutting wood and just making cuts for the other guys that were up on the roof. And when you're working with a skill saw all day, if your concentration is anywhere else other than on that saw, you're you're gonna hurt yourself. And for somebody like me, that was such a great practice, because I was able to be in the moment, 8 hours a day, whether I was working with the nail gun, working with the skill saw, just working with power tools was a great way for me to sort of really zero in on what I was doing. And so, being mindful is about being in the present moment and allowing yourself to just be there, and not anywhere else. And, that can be done in a lot of different ways. People talk about, washing dishes being a mindfulness practice. So that could be something that you can do. I've done experiences with eating an orange from the moment you get the orange to holding it in your hand and feeling it and peeling it with your hand, and just kind of getting that first smell of the fresh orange as you open the peel up, and then piece by piece and slowly feeling the juice, the orange juice just sort of drip down your throat, and just really like savoring an orange. And you could eat an orange for just for 15 minutes and just focus on that, and it's just like
I have to ask you a question about that, Mikey.
yeah.
We've talked about this in the episode. I thought we did, Jenny. You could correct me if I'm wrong.
I've done one with eating a Hershey Kiss too. I've done a mindfulness
that's interesting.
exercise with that too.
Have you ever
like
eaten an orange in the shower?
No, I don't think
question.
I have. But that sounds.
Question.
That's not. I mean, I'm a big fan of practicing mindfulness in the shower. Believe it or not, that's where I do a lot of my internal dialogue focus. Like, I'm always talking to myself in the shower in a very focused, mindful way. But I've never done that, so that would be an interesting way to sort of combine two different mindfulness practices.
Well, I've done it. I tried it once, and I actually really enjoyed it. Jenny thinks it's weird, but I got this idea from her. I forget where you heard it from, Jenny.
Jenny, of all things that Josh does being weird, I mean, that's, I don't know. That's probably par for the course with you, Josh.
I've also been hearing lately that people have shower beers. They have beer in the shower.
I had
they
not
crack
heard
open
that.
a beer.
Yeah,
in the shower.
I don't know. It's
weird.
It's funny. You find these things that people they anything you want to, if you want to justify something being like a good practice, you're probably going to find information out there that
That's
it can
true.
be, right? Like, right, Jenny? I mean, confirmation bias, right? Like, so yeah, I've heard that, Josh. I've seen a couple articles out there about it. I'm not sure the validity of it, but hey, I mean, what the heck, I mean, I do the cold showers. I do like the
Ooh.
back and the cold showers where I'll go, 30 seconds of cold, and then I'll do like 10 seconds of hot, 30 seconds of cold, 10 seconds of hot. I like that practice. Another one I do, not, gyms aren't open now, but another one that I love to do is I go into the sauna, and I'll stay in there for like 20 minutes and get as hot as I can. And then I'll get out of there and I'll go right into the cold shower. And for like, probably I'll stay longer. Then I'll go like 3 minutes and just as cold as I possibly can. And, getting it right up under the armpits and all the areas where it just hits you. It's just like, boom. I mean, when I come out of that, if you think I usually have, crazy energy, when I come out, I'm just like, woo! So
I need to go to the gym with you, buddy.
Yeah, and there's not anything else I'm focusing on in that moment other than just kind of like, being in the moment, dealing with the heat, dealing with the cold.
You don't have a choice but to focus on what's happening to you in your senses, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why, there's a lot of information out there. This could be a whole other podcast about brown adipose fat tissue and stimulating the vagus nerve and all these other benefits that ice cold and cold exposure can do for you. But if just in terms of mindfulness, you're 100% right. So we live on the lake, and we'll go. I'll go out and cut holes in the ice in the winter and just go right in. And Ashley's like, what the heck? But and you can't. You just can't focus on anything else, other than just sort of like
that's intense.
Yeah. And so, for me, exercising is running is a mindful practice for me. So one of the things that I've tried to do lately is really work on controlled breathing. Like I've gotten so much into breath work lately. And, one of the practices that I try to do when exercising, very rarely do I breathe out of my mouth when exercising, unless I'm doing something super extreme. So when I I went on a 5-mile run yesterday with a tire drag system. So I was dragging a tire, running 5 miles, and the entire time I was trying.
Burly. I just need to say that. That's
yeah. Well, it's a great workout. We should get your son doing that. It'd be great for his leg strength for football. But and it's just something that you can do during this time of quarantine. Can't get to the gym, but I can smoke my legs by getting out and run 5 miles with a tire. But I try to just nasal breathe the entire time. And so that's a very, very mindful practice. And there's so many other health benefits that go with learning, how to just breathe in and out of your nose and why that's important. But, it's a great mindful practice because you're really honed in on the breath, and it allows your mind to kind of escape the wanderings and really be in the moment.
So speaking of mindfulness, Mikey, I've noticed for the past few minutes that for a few minutes ago, you were clearly outside. I was hearing the birds, and I'm remembering that you have this beautiful outdoor area. You live on the lake. I think that's another thing that's important for people to remember right now is that even though we are supposed to be practicing social distancing, we still can get outside and connect with nature. Little hard lately here in the Northeast where we've had a lot of rain, but even just hearing you being outside and hearing the birds in the background and hearing sort of the breeze instantly sort of lifted my mood a little bit, just that sort of calmness, that peacefulness. So I'm glad that you stepped outside because it was a good reminder for me that nature is also there.
I did that just for you, Jenny. I was thinking about you.
Well, I was also enjoying hearing Ashley in the background because although I've never actually met your wife, Ashley, I feel like I know her because she is one of the funniest people on social media ever.
Yeah, she keeps me. That's the other thing that's so important during this time is just humor.
Mrs. Get Burly.
Yes,
it's a Mrs. Get Burly. We have to laugh, and it's not to take what's happening light. By no means do I mean to suggest that, but I just think it's important to have a little bit of humor. She's really. So Stadler is outside right now, running down. So we put in this dock, and he's running down the dock, and looks like he's just going to jump in the water, and so Ashley's just running after him. So there's a lot going on down there right now. I'm just watching her. He is on the move for sure.
Yeah.
Can
so
I just
you're
tell
busy.
a funny story? So absolutely, you can tell. But so our world right now, a lot of our worlds involve working from home and being on conference calls. And the other day I was on a conference call with somebody who's got two young kids. And she said, hold on, stop with the Oreos. And there was this bunch of kerfuffle in the background. She came back on the phone and said, yeah, my 2-year-old just broke into Oreos and ate half the package. It's like, that's the reality.
That's
of
the
our
kind of thing
work
that's
world.
happening right now. Yeah, it's a little crazy for sure.
But that same exact thing happened with us and our 14-year-old the other day.
Oh my goodness.
With Oreos or with
Yeah.
something else?
Yes.
No,
Oh.
he literally, this is why he has to listen to this episode,
Oh my-
because there was a
You
pack of
described his new schedule, by the way. 6 to 1. That's what's happening.
there was a pack of
No.
Oreo Thins that were in our house, and I don't eat any of that, but we have it for snacks. And he came up to us and he said, I don't know what happened. I finished the whole package.
It happened so fast. That's what he said.
He said he didn't know what happened.
No, I
See,
don't
now,
know.
if he doesn't know, then that wasn't mindful.
Exactly.
Eating.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yes. So we talked
Now, some
about
people say there's a very proper way to eat an Oreo. I'm not sure what that is, but some people, there's very specific ways with twisting and doubling them up, and eating the cream first before the cookie, and all kinds of crazy
that
stuff.
could be
So
a
I don't
whole
know.
episode in itself.
That could be. There you go. See, I'm trying to give some ideas here.
So can I just say, as we sort of getting to the end of the hour here, we could be talking to you for hours and hours and days. We have we have talked to you for that long. But we can do. We have to have you back on. By the way, it's a requirement.
Anytime, that.
But I'm in the studio. We talked before how Jenni and I are different spots in our house. So I'm in the studio, and I have the benefit of staring at pictures from Semester at Sea that are in here with me. And I have to tell you, one of my favorite pictures that we have on our wall is in Cuba.
When I'm like kung fu fighting that guy, or just play fighting. I'm not really.
God. It's gotta be my favorite picture of all time.
What was going on then? Like, what was that? Why was I doing that?
I think he was dancing. This Cuban gentleman on the dock on the shores of wherever we were in Havana, and he was just doing his own thing. He was being mindful, I guess, and dancing.
I probably just wanted to join him.
You did.
You did
join him.
Yes.
And I was savvy enough to snap a picture. So there we go.
Oh, good times, man. That was that. I'll be honest with you. That set the bar for the course of my life in so many ways.
Yes.
And it was a magical experience. That one. I would recommend anybody if they have the chance to do something like that, to certainly do it, because it just broadens your horizon.
It does.
Your perspectives on life in a way that I don't. You just can't unless you do something like that. You can. It's one thing to read about places and books, which is great. It's great in its own right, but nothing can replicate the experience of going and being there. And I mean, gosh, I could go on for days. I mean,
I know
I was kidnapped in China, and it was. I could go on for days.
Yes,
we have a similar China story.
We have a similar China story, and were you on the bus with us in India where we got commandeered? I don't know if Mikey was with us that day.
Did you go to?
No, I was visiting all the. I did not go to the Taj. I was visiting all of the temples.
Yeah.
Okay.
India. I went. I was completely on my own.
Yes.
In that one,
right.
I almost that was almost a. Yeah.
Yeah, we.
Scary thing.
I ventured completely on my own, but it was good. It was an eye-opening experience. But I know a lot more now about travel.
Yeah.
than I did
too.
then.
Well, so not only was it an experience that we're glad that we went, but also sort of tying it back into the very beginning, it was something that you had set as a goal for yourself and a desire and a dream, and it was difficult, right? It took a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of planning. I think you said 3 years to get you to a place where you could actually do that. Imagine if you had given up. Imagine if you had said, this is too hard. It's too much work. It's not meant to be. I'm not going to do it. You just said that really sort of set the course for the whole rest of your life. And I think that's a really powerful statement to sort of pull out, that it would have been easy for you to have walked away and given up and not put in the effort. But because you did, you've now not only have had that experience, but it changed the course of the rest of your life. And so that's a really powerful message to remember, that these things in life that are hard,
and it changed the way I can impact other people.
Absolutely. Just because something's hard, because it's a challenge, because it takes a long time to sort of get off the ground, doesn't mean that you should walk away from it. In fact, most times it means you should sort of double down and make it happen.
Right. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, having gone through that, I mean, it, I know because I know you, but your audience probably doesn't know how much this has impacted who you are now and what you do and why you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't feel like I have such a global perspective right now in the work that I'm doing. Um, and actually, now that I have such a passion for grief and understanding death and dying and sort of cultural reactions to that, I sort of wish I could do it again now with
Hmm.
that lens.
Yes.
And actually, a goal for me is to go back on. Well, it's not the U.S. It's not the SS Universe Explorer anymore. Whatever the new ship is to go back
Hmm.
on as a clinical support member, as like a therapist on the ship,
Oh,
and be able to do some coursework around death and grief and dying. And I've actually looked into it, and I meet the qualifications. The problem is, I've got kids and dogs and a job, so this is something that's like a 10, 20-year goal down the road. But that's where I sort of see myself heading at some point, is bringing it sort of full circle and being able to go back again with a different lens. But yeah, so it
Amazing.
definitely has had an impact, and it's not something I regret ever.
okay. Well, just make sure that you let me know what journey that is, because maybe I can become the fitness instructor on that
Yes.
same
Oh, there
one.
we go. Yes, love it.
Mikey, tell everybody where they can find you. Shout out your stuff.
Yeah, so it's easy. It's all Get Burly. Here's where people make the mistake. It's Burly, not Burley. It's just
Ah,
Burly. So it's all at Get Burly. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the YouTube channel. It's all just at Get Burly, and then just www.getburly.com. So it's pretty easy. We try to keep it easy and streamlined for people. So it's just all at Get Burly or getburly.com.
Awesome.
excellent. And we'll put a lot of the links in our show notes. But
Yes.
I'm so
Oh,
happy we
and
got
we'll
to
run the
connect.
Get Burly ad at the end of this too.
Well, I can't wait. I get my changing perspectives T-shirt that I'm going to start rocking as soon as I get that bad Larry.
Yep, I
Yes.
ordered it yesterday, so I believe it said like 7 to 10 days.
I can't wait. Well,
It's on
hopefully
its
it'll
way.
come along. When it does come, it'll come along with the good weather, so I can actually wear a T-shirt,
I
because
hope so.
we need
I'm
some
trying.
sunlight. We need some vitamin D, some natural vitamin
We
D
Yeah, we
really,
do.
really
here
do.
in Boston.
Yeah, I think it's coming. It's coming. It's a little brighter out there now, and it's not
Well, if
downpouring.
Jenny says so, I'm going to believe it then.
She
Well,
is a
Mike,
weather person.
I do. I've become sort of a weather nerd. I read all the charts and stuff like that. So I'm super excited about the reason for the weather that we've been having lately. But that's a different episode. Um,
Well, are you guys? I'm pretty amazed with how well the three of us stayed on task for this
I
episode. I
know.
mean,
I know.
we started with questions. We ventured off like a little bit, but we brought it back, and we stayed relatively on task. I mean, this is for us three. This is like, I
And
mean,
and
I
I
don't
even
know.
did my burpees in the middle of it.
Perfect.
All right. Well, we're
All
going
right,
to go
Mikey.
now.
Thank you
We're going to
so
go talk
much.
to our high school student about everything
Yes.
that you just told us. So thank you
For
for
real.
that.
Oh, and I'll send that. The
Yeah,
email
thank
that
you.
I've sent out to some coaches. I'll send it to you guys too.
Perfect. Thanks.
That's awesome.
And enjoy the rest of
All
your
right,
weekend.
you need
Give
to say
Ashley our best. And next time you're on, we have to figure out a way for Ashley to be on too.
yes, please.
Yeah, you guys will like her a lot better than me. She's the better half, and your audience will definitely laugh a lot more.
I'm telling you, she really is the funniest person I follow on social media.
Yeah, I keep telling her she's got to be on SNL.
She really does. Yeah. Yeah. That's your next
I'd
sort of
watch that.
expansion. Well, thank
Well,
you
maybe post quarantine we could do like one in person.
Whoa, that would
Oh,
be
that'd be
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah. Mikey lives on the North
All
Shore.
right,
We
Mikey,
live on the
Caron.
South Shore. That's a hard distance to bridge.
We're in the same state, but it's like
South Shore to North Shore just
it's
seems
far
far
away.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, our dogs
Yeah,
are
but
going to
I saw you. I came to visit you when you were in Colorado. We can make this happen.
That's true.
You did. You did. All right, buddy.
All right,
Thank you
Mikey,
so much,
thank you
pal.
so much.
All right, guys. Love you guys.
Love
Love
you
you
too, man.
too. Take
All
care.
right, take care.
Jenny, how fun was it talking to Mikey?
It was so much fun. You and I were in separate rooms,
Yeah.
which was different, but I got to record the podcast from our bed
Yeah.
with Norma Jean.
So you had your normal partner. Norma Jean.
Yeah, she's like my clinical intern. So she's also getting some intern hours as a podcast host, podcast producer.
Yes. Mikey had such great advice to share with everybody. A lot of funny stories. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. We will definitely have Mikey on again, maybe with Ashley as well, Mrs. Get Burly herself. So we'll shout that out in a few moments when we do the outro here. But visit getburly.com, everybody. Check Mikey out on all of the socials, Facebook, Instagram, very active. And he's a lot of fun to watch, especially when he does those early morning workouts, and he's just all fired up. Nobody can get fired up quite like Mikey.
And that has always been
Since we
the
met
truth,
him
yes.
almost 20 years ago. Everybody, don't forget to submit your iTunes reviews. Go ahead and rate us and review us on iTunes, and we'll read any new reviews over the air. I do have some to read in the future. I don't have anything prepared today. But
I
we'll
have
read some
something.
more. You do?
What are you doing with your arm, with your microphone stand?
don't
What
know.
is this new thing you're doing?
Our audio is a
my
little
review
off,
is
and I don't know.
my review is I don't like that.
I don't know. Our audio is off since we did the...
So holding your mic stand is going to
I
help
don't
it?
know. I want to keep it up to my...
It's not moving.
It's not... Okay. We'll just see what
Weirdo.
happens.
You do have like knobs that you can tighten it with.
That's true.
Mhm.
I like playing with it, though.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very distracting. That was it. That was my review.
You teased me. I thought you had something to say.
Nope.
Like an actual listener's review
Nope.
or something.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Anything else to add as we finish up this episode, this Get Burly episode?
Nope. I never have
Alright.
anything to add.
It's just part... It's okay. You
I
can
know.
always
Thank you
say
for
no.
offering,
Yeah.
for asking.
Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this one. That's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for listening. For today's show notes links, you can check out www.getburly.com. Please follow us on Facebook, everybody, at Changing Perspectives Podcast, and on Instagram at Changing Perspectives Blog. You can send us an email to changingpodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit our website by going to changingperspectivesblog.com. And while you're there, don't forget to visit the shop to check out all of that Changing Perspectives merchandise. Go ahead and subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode, and we will see you next time. Say bye, Jenny.
Bye, Jenny.
Are you looking to level up in life with your health, mindset, and personal mission statement? Are you a coach of a sports team or leader of an organization looking to build critical leadership skills for your team? If so, then look no further than GetBurly.com. The Get Burly brand offers life coaching, personal fitness programming, and team building retreats, clinics, and seminars, all designed to empower individuals and teams to become the best versions of themselves. The Get Burly Team Building and Leadership Development Division works specifically with athletic teams, corporate groups, and educational institutions. Through their signature seminars, workshops, and/or retreats, Get Burly will have your team firing on all cylinders and working as an inspired, cohesive unit, committed to the mission and vision of your program or organization. Get Burly will build the inner strength necessary for you and your team to gain clarity around your mission, input strategies to enhance mindfulness, amplify personal accountability and ownership, and much, much more. Do yourself and your team a favor and visit GetBurly.com. Get Burly. Be the best version of you.
The Changing Perspectives podcast is produced, recorded, and edited by Dizzy Bird Studios. Please visit Dizzy Bird Studios on Facebook, facebook.com/DizzyBirdStudios.